So can I ask you about Rana Plaza? Now, we saw a week on from the collapse, lots of people all around the world came out, activists here in London, in Belgium, all over the world, coming out to show their dismay over what's gone on within the garments industry and to show that they don't want to see another Rana Plaza taking place. What have we seen from Bangladesh?
Exactly. A lot of activities has been shown to have done throughout the world. But the government of Bangladesh needs to do more. I mean, the owner of the Rana Plaza, he was arrested and charged with very minor offences. Even
he's said to be released like in 2 years?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And even if he was convicted on, after the final trial, even he's found guilty, it will be for 1 or 2 years, or maximum 5 years imprisonment, and he can come out within years. So government must do something. He could have been charged with murder or manslaughter at least, but he wasn't charged for that.
And what was he charged with?
For lesser offences under Penal Code of Bangladesh, for some negligence, etc. But those are not relevant offences to be charged.
Some people have said it's because of his political connections that he's been able to get away so easily. Do you think that's the case?
He was involved with the government party. That's why he was not charged for the appropriate offences. And unless he has been given exemplary punishment, that might occur again in years, in months, and no company, no factory will be safe.
Okay, well, speaking of Bangladesh, now the appeal hearing for one of the most prominent cases in Bangladesh's International Crimes Tribunal, the case of the famed scholar and leading Jamaat-e-Islam figure Dilwar Hussain Sayyidi, has come to a close and a verdict is expected any day now.
The International Crimes Tribunal in Bangladesh has been trying suspects accused of partaking in crimes against humanity during the 1971 independence struggle in Bangladesh. With the first indictments issued in 2010, the proceedings have now entered their 4th year. Major figures from opposition parties were almost immediately arrested, and leading Jamaat-e-Islam figure Abdul Qadir Mullah was executed as a result. 2013 was plagued with strikes and clashes between opposition parties, with one of the bloodiest years in Bangladeshi history. Election-time violence also one of the worst on record. Much of the violence stemming from the divisions created by the ICT. Throughout the trials, there has been criticism from various groups, including New York-based Human Rights Watch. Speaking of the tribunal, senior journalist and media advisor to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Iqbal Sohan Chowdhury said,
"Now the question is that whether her government will go for the other execution of the other verdicts and will continue the trial. Prime Minister, she has categorically said that there will be no compromise on this issue. So the War Crime Tribunal and the trial of the war criminals will continue. And that is one of the big expectations of the people."
As appeal proceedings for the case of Dilwar Hussain Sayyidi come to a close, it's a wondering as to what this will mean for peace in Bangladesh.
Right, media advisor to Sheikh Hasina, they're saying there will be no compromise regarding the rest of the cases in the International Crimes Tribunal and as to whether the further individuals will be executed. Toby?
Well, I'm appalled that a media advisor to the Prime Minister would even feel the need to comment on the outcome of these trials. It's got nothing to do with the Prime Minister. It's got nothing to do with his media advisor. If we're just to have any credibility in a judicial process, they should keep away from this. No compromise. Well, they've already made the decision that these people are going to be executed. And it is deeply worrying. We have commented on the proceedings extensively, both before the tribunal and the Supreme Court. And that statement exemplifies the concerns that we have and clearly demonstrates that this is all part of a political whim of the Prime Minister, that she has decided that these people will be executed. There will be no compromise. Those are her words.
I want to come back to you on the statement that you released, Toby. Nazir, you heard that, as Toby did. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's media advisor saying there will be no compromise on the execution of other individuals. Should the Bangladeshi Prime Minister think about any of
That's troubled me. I mean, those matters should have been dealt with by the court, exclusively by the
But
court.
why dealt with by the court?
I don't know.
Why are we seeing this?
The answer maybe trials has been a lot of critics have been saying that political trial. So that could be the reason. But Delvarshan's side, the main issue in his trial is identification. And the defense right from the beginning saying that Delvarshan Saidi and Delwar Sikdar are not the same person. And it appears that, all the responsibilities or offenses of Delwar Sikdar has been put on the Delvarshan Saidi. If that is the case, then he is bound to be a victim of miscarriage of justice.
Victim of the miscarriage of justice.
Yes, clearly. It's not just a matter of looking at whether they have put the right person in the dock or not. Of course, that is one of the points that the defence made clear during the tribunal and during the appeal. But the Saidi case really is the epitome of everything which is wrong with this process. First of all, he's being tried principally because of his standing in Bangladesh political life, his role in Jamaat. And he wasn't even a member of Jamaat in 1971. He wasn't connected to Jamaat. But those political questions to one side, the 2 points that we focused on in our statement that we issued, the first one was the witness, Bali, who, as we know, was a prosecution witness who agreed to give evidence for the defence.
Who was later found in India?
He was, and you really, really have to focus on this particular point and really ask the international community what actually needed to go wrong in Bangladesh before you're going to do something. And the example of Bali is a prime example of the impotency of the international community, particularly the United Nations. Here is a man who is not a member of any political party, has no axe to grind, whose brother was killed in 1971 by, in his words, the Pakistani military. He has come forward in order to give evidence for the defence to say, one, Saidi is not the person who killed my brother, and I never said he was, and two, I have been forced to lie by the investigative agency. Now, his evidence is critical because it really demonstrates the legitimacy of this whole process. And before he was able to give evidence, he was abducted, and we know he was abducted by law enforcement officials. He was taken to the detective branch where he was tortured, and then he was thrown over the border into India, where I would imagine the Bangladesh authorities just thought he'd be killed, and he wouldn't be their problem anymore. Unfortunately, he was then, or fortunately for him, he wasn't killed, and he was arrested by Indian immigration officials, and he was charged with being an illegal entrant. And he's still in India now, and everyone seems to have forgotten that. The other point that's made in the defence statement, and you have to really think that the two charges upon which Saidi received the death sentence by the tribunal, so the Bali situation, and the second statement that refers to another murder where the defence had come up with certified evidence from a lower court to show that a criminal complaint was made in 1972 and Saidi was not even mentioned. And the spouse of the victim was not even called to give evidence at the tribunal, notwithstanding she's still alive. So those 2 points just really demonstrates the complete farcical nature of this whole process.
Before we move on, can I very quickly get a comment from you, Bryce and Nazir, also just asking about the reaction in Bangladesh for someone like Delwar Hussain Saidi. When the verdict came through the International Crimes Tribunal last year, people came out in their droves in his support, and we saw clashes and a lot of violence as a result. Are we likely to see this again?
Exactly. One may agree or not. Delwar Hussain Saidi is one of the most popular in Bangladeshi politics. We saw the reaction last year when tribunal gave the verdict. More than 70 people were killed, came out of the street, were killed by the police by direct shooting within 4 hours. And within a few days, more than 100 people gave their lives. So you can imagine there has been some political assassination in Bangladesh in the past. We haven't seen such a reaction. So it is anticipated there will be huge reaction because he has huge support based on the grassroots level, regardless of political parties. And even he has popularities among the government parties as well in terms of grassroots level.
Worrying times for Bangladesh. Now, lots of different things have been trending throughout this week. Let's have a look at some of your tweets.
Trending on Twitter this week, Bangladesh. Storms hit northern Bangladesh, killing and displacing residents. Tweeters commented in the aftermath of the severe storm, with @Bedlam Fury tweeting, "The storm left at least 1,000 people homeless after hitting northern Bangladesh." Egypt was also trending on Twitter, as the government continued its crackdown on protests and the Muslim Brotherhood. Judges handing a death sentence to 683. Commentators spoke about the government's anti-terror initiative to get women to speak to police if they suspect male members of their family of wanting to go to Syria. @Muslim Village tweeted, British police will ask Muslim women to help persuade young people not to fight in Syria.
Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for this evening. I want to thank both of my guests, Toby Cadman and Nazir Ahmed, for joining us, and of course you at home for watching. Remember to keep up with the Twitter conversation using #TheReport. We're following stories throughout the week, so do keep tweeting. If you prefer, you can email us your thoughts on the report at islamchannel.tv. But for now, we'll leave you with some scenes from Mississippi, where a ferocious storm caused a twister and threatened tens of millions of people across the US. This comes a day after it spawned tornadoes that killed 16 people. Do join us on Friday for your report, but until then, from all of us here, Assalamu alaikum.